Galán's 5th grade class. I'm so excited to be back here with you today, and we are going to be demonstrating how the Earth rotates on its axis every 24 hours to be creating the day and night cycle. In the following video, I'm going to show you how to mix together flour and water to create a paste to make paper mache. With the paper mache, we are going to create a sphere over a balloon. And if you don't have a balloon, I will show you some other options of ways that you can make this project. After we're done making our sphere, we are going to paint a sun and a moon to demonstrate the day and night cycle. Okay, so let's get started. I have in front of me everything that you will need to make the traditional paper mache recipe. Today, what you will need is some strips of newspaper. If you don't have newspaper at home, that's fine. You can use any kind of thin paper that you can find. Rip them into about 1/2 to 1 inch strips. You will also need flour and water. Okay, if you don't have flour at home, you can also use glue and water. You will also need a bowl for mixing and either a balloon, or you can crumple up newspaper into a ball and cover it with just a paper bag so the paper mache will not stick. So there's lots of different methods to use if you don't have some of these supplies, and we'll talk about that as we get going here. Okay, so the first thing you want to do to make your paper mache mixture is mix a 1-to-1 ratio of flour and water. Okay, so just like we did with our salt dough, we're going to pour our flour into a bowl. I'm using about 1 cup of flour right now. And since I used 1 cup of flour, I'm going to use around 1 cup of water. And like I said, boys and girls, if you don't have flour at home, you could also use liquid glue. And if you want to make this just a little bit stronger, you can pour in a little bit of liquid glue. If you don't have it, that's fine. Okay, now I'm just going to mix this up with my hands until I have a smooth and creamy consistency. So I have this one mixed up already. It's been sitting here. There's no lumps in it. And this is going to work as our adhesive, okay, that binds the newspaper together, and it will create our 3D sphere that we are going to make out of paper mache. So I know that in 5th grade you're working in science on day and night, and we are going to create this 3D sphere. I'm going to make a sun and a moon. The possibilities are endless. If you would like to create a bowl, or you could turn yours into some sort of hanging, different hanging design from a wire hanger, you could do that. You could paint yours and turn it into like a hanging piñata. This is the technique that people use to make piñatas. Okay, same thing. We're going to keep on mixing this up until it's nice and smooth. Okay, so now that I have my mixture ready, I'm going to take my balloon, and I just like to use a plastic cup or any kind of cup you have at home to set it on so that I have a stand, and you can also set it on that stand when your balloon is drying. I'm going to take one of my strips of newspaper, put it into the mixture. I'm going to use my 2 very important tools today, my hands, and I'm going to put my fingers like a squeegee and just wring off all that extra paste. Okay, and I'm going to start covering my balloon with a thin layer of newspaper. After this dries, give it several hours or overnight to dry, you can put another layer of newspaper on top of this if you would like to create an even stronger form. Okay, so I'm smoothing down all the bumps. And I know it can get a little bit frustrating because the more you work on this, it's going to get a little bumpy. But what you'll want to do at the end is just put a little bit of that mixture paste onto your hands and smooth all the bumps out. Okay, so this is going to be my sun. And this one I've already worked on. This is going to be my moon. Okay, you can just put a little paste on your fingers and smooth that out. So I would cover this completely. Now, as this dries, the balloon is going to shrink. So you don't need to worry about popping the balloon or getting the balloon out of your form. It will just stay in there and it will eventually just shrivel up and shrink. Okay, so make sure that if you put some strips horizontal sideways, you're gonna go back and put some strips vertical the other way, ensuring that every single bit of that balloon is covered. Okay, when you're done, you're going to set that on your cup to dry. And then we will talk about how to decorate or paint your balloon. I just want to show you really quickly, okay, if you don't have a balloon, another thing you can do is you can take newspaper and you can crumple this up into a ball like this. Okay, this is if you don't have a balloon at home. Lay a plastic bag so that it won't stick to it. You're just going to gently lay that over your newspaper ball. Now, this would be better to create like a bowl or a form. It would be a little bit harder to make your sphere, but you could make two sides and then glue them together at the end. Okay, so same technique. I'm going to just wring out my newspaper. I'm going to cover this form. And when it dries, because you have it on the plastic bag, you will be able to just pull that bag out and you will have your form. You can also trim around the edges after it's dry. So while your paste is mixed up and you have all this extra paste, make sure that you create a couple so that later on if you end up making a hanging mobile or something that needs multiple, that you have a couple extra made. Okay, so you would cover that and that would be your form. So looking at this one that I've created, you can see that there's just a few lumps, so I'm going to just take my fingers and smooth them out, okay? I will go back in and when this dries just a little bit, I'll put one strip here to cover over that hole. And that's it, boys and girls, very simple, okay? That is a simple technique and method to make a 3D sphere, paper mache sphere. So boys and girls, make sure that you allow enough dry time in between each step. After you cover your balloon, let it dry. Then you may want to add a second layer, let it dry, and finally the paint and let it dry. These are the 3 stages. So I have a balloon that's been covered, a balloon that's been primed with white paint, and then I have painted on my sun and moon. After that, the sky is the limit. You can add on additional embellishments or decorations, and I hope that you all have fun creating your own 3D sphere.